Hi everybody, let me just make sure camera's angle. Yes, and I had a haircut. I look human. I was hoping to time this so that I could do this Mars opposition video 2 days ago and then yesterday so that I could do the new moon in Scorpio video today. But the new moon in Scorpio video is going to have to wait till tomorrow. I used to really for the longest time do my new moon videos after a new moon, and I still like that idea. I have, because the channel has grown and the expectation typically is to get the new moon video a few days before the new moon. That's what I've been doing. This time it hasn't worked out that way. So I'm going to thank you for your patience and just know that the new moon and Scorpio video will come out tomorrow. I'm not hugely concerned about it as far as the content on this channel is concerned because I have done at least 2 videos that touch on that new moon. I've done a video on all the personal planets transits through Scorpio just a couple of videos ago, and that is, if you're really dying to get my take on the new moon and Scorpio, that's the video to watch. And even the weekly overview that I did earlier this week talked about it. But I wonder, I was just like, shall I do the Mars opposition Pluto video today first, or shall I do the new moon and Scorpio? And I was like, no, let me do the Mars Pluto opposition video because it is the big aspect that is encoded into the new moon in Scorpio, which occurs tomorrow, which occurs in about 12 hours time at this point in time, given where I'm at, 12, 13 hours time. So, and Mars and Pluto are both the rulers of Scorpio, and they are opposite each other. So rather than do the new moon video today and the Mars opposition Pluto video tomorrow, I think it's better I get the Mars opposite, excuse me, it's better I get the Mars opposite video, Mars opposite Pluto video done today, and we can do the new moon in Scorpio video tomorrow. And if anyone is really curious to know about the new moon in Scorpio video, take a look at my transits through Scorpio video that I did a couple of videos ago and the weekly overview. Okay, a lot of the content related to the new moon in Scorpio is there with regard to what that's all about. There is no question in my mind that this time that is the dark before the new moon has its characteristic sleepy, hopeless, slightly kind of depressed, lack of energy, wanting to sleep, wanting to shed the last month, be done with the last month, quality, anxiety, all that kind of stuff. I can't wait for the new moon tomorrow to give me some energy so that I can move ahead. And from everything I know about the astrology of the new moon, November is really a time of action and transformation and change. One more thing, how could I forget announcing? This was the big thing I wanted to announce today. Today is Diwali. For people who celebrate, happy Diwali. And we're going into the evening, so I'm gonna do my sort of lantern lighting on my own. It's funny, it's not a festival that had, ever since I left India, it's not had a huge resonance for me. But for some reason this year, last year also, this year, I'm kind of inclined. I'm not gonna do anything dramatic like light up the entire apartment. That's just silly, or but I'm gonna mark it. And I was thinking today I wanted to do something with Diwali. So here's what I'm offering, and this is really going to apply mostly for people who are living in the US or living in the EU, because this will be a discount for you. For other people it may not be that much of a discount or a discount at all. Bottom line is, the first 15 people to write to me using my email address below, who are interested in this Diwali special, or let's just call it the $100 special, will get a regular typical reading from me for $100. My readings are, if it's a first time reading, it's a little bit more expensive. If it's a repeat reading, it's a little bit less expensive. But for US and EU clients, readings run anywhere from $120 to $175. So it is a discount no matter what. So the first 15 people who avail of this Diwali special can get my regular 60 to 75 minute consultations for $100. As I said, if you are, my offerings and whether I can record them or not, and whether I can do this, that, or the other with them or not, all vary by geography. Plus, the offerings have to vary by geography, because in certain geographies, this is a lot more money than it is in other places. You know, I try to remain accessible globally, and that it can be a little bit of a challenge because in certain geographies, what I have to end up charging in order to remain competitive is not really competitive for a lifestyle here in the States. And it's a constant challenge and a constant juggle. And those of you who are in the States know people charge $200, $250, $500 for reading. I don't quite know the rationale behind it, except I understand given where things are at and what you need to do in order to stay afloat. It's just it doesn't seem feasible to me. So as a Diwali special, if this resonates for you, if you would like an hour-long reading with me, that's typically 60 to 75 minutes, and I talk without knowing what's going on in anyone's life for the first 25 to 30 minutes. But readings also, you can always let me know. Do you want a synastry reading? Do you want me to do my regular transits reading? You know, we can work out what you want that time to be used for. Is it a first-time reading? For some of you, it might be. For some of you, it's kind of a check-in. Just know that for $100 you have access to 60 to 75 minutes of my time. And as I said, I totally understand this will resonate more and will be a more substantial discount for people living in the United States, Canada, and the EU. So yeah, my email address is in the description box below. You can write to me there and we can set something up. So that's my, I wanted to do something to mark Diwali this year. And my last few specials have been a little bit too nerdy and too quirky. Those kind of, it made a lot of sense to do sort of my 30-minute single topic ones. And then after that, I started to customize that. I think I lost my mind a little bit. I became a little nerdy about it. So I thought I'll just keep it simple and offer it. And there you have it. Okay, now let's talk about the Mars-Pluto opposition. As you know, Mars takes typically, 45 odd days to go through a sign. And Mars this year is, every couple of years, Mars goes retrograde. And Mars takes about 45 days to go through a sign. But this year, Mars is going to go through the signs of, you know, I was researching something and the page that I landed on to research something is taking forever. Let me just make a note of this date so we can talk about it. And I'm going to shut down this website because it is hanging up my browser. And yeah, here we go. Mars is currently going through the sign of Cancer. And on November the 4th, he's gonna enter Leo. But on December the 6th, Mars is going to go retrograde through February the 23rd. So December the 6th, so September the 4th to November the 4th, Mars in Cancer. Already longer than he would have spent in Cancer. November the 4th to December the 6th, Mars is still direct in Leo. December the 6th, Mars goes retrograde. January the 6th, he retrogrades back into Cancer. February the 23rd, he goes direct. April the 18th, he enters into Leo. And June the 17th, he leaves Leo. So once again, for people who like dates, September the 4th to November the 4th, Mars in Cancer. November the 4th to December 6th, Mars direct in Leo. December the 6th to January 6th, Mars retrograde in Leo. January the 6th, Mars retrogrades into Cancer. January 6th to February 23rd, Mars retrograde. February 23rd, Mars direct. On April the 18th, Mars enters Leo from Cancer and is in Leo till June the 17th of 2025. So rather than spending 90 days between two signs, Mars ends up spending September, October, November, December, January, February, March, April, May, and half of June, 9.5 months through these two signs. And Mars is basically, in the degrees, he's going to travel over 3 times between 70 degrees Cancer and 6 degrees of Leo. And Mars is already slowed down. The fact that Mars has already taken 2 months to go through the sign of Cancer means that Mars has already started to slow down. And during his retrograde, he's going to make 4 aspects. He's going to trine Saturn, he's going to square Chiron, he's going to oppose Pluto, he's going to trine the North Node. So as he's going direct, trine Saturn on September the 30th, actually makes 5 aspects, sorry. Trine Saturn, square Chiron, trine Neptune, oppose Pluto, trine the North Node. And then backwards, and then forwards, 3 times. And that's 3 trines to Saturn, Neptune, and the North Node, 1 square to Chiron, and the Pluto opposition. So he's already trined Saturn on September the 30th, squared Chiron October 13th, trined Neptune October 28th, we're on October the 31st today, opposes Pluto on November the 3rd, hence this video, trines the North Node on November the 17th, goes retrograde on December the 4th, trines the North Node January 2nd, opposes Pluto January the 3rd, squares Chiron, trines Neptune January 12th, squares Chiron February 3rd, trines Saturn February 9th, goes direct February 23rd, trines Saturn. The first thing he does actually is squares Chiron March 26th, trines Saturn April 4th, trines the North Node April 8th, trines Neptune April 19th, opposes Pluto April 26th. And I'm not going to repeat those dates again because you can Google those dates or you can just rewind and get that sequence again. The most significant, when we are looking at all sorts of things happening in the skies, squares and trines and oppositions and conjunctions, out of all these, probably the most significant and the most dramatically felt aspects are those between Mars and Pluto. They're both assertive, some would say even violent planets. Mars and Pluto conjuncted on February the 14th of this year. And for many people, that was both an announcement of what Pluto, when he first enters a sign, and Pluto spent some time in Aquarius in 2023. Pluto spent most of 2024 in Aquarius, but as you know, Pluto is wrapping up his transit in Capricorn that's been going on since 2008 till November the 19th of this year. And then he's going to be in Aquarius till 2042 or thereabouts. And that Mars-Pluto conjunction on February the 14th for many people was an announcement or a harbinger or a sort of kicking off the process of transformation in the Aquarius part of our chart. The house occupied by Aquarius, where Pluto is going to spend a fair amount of time. And very often when Pluto enters a house for his long, lengthy transformations, in retrospect, you can go back and look at those years when Pluto first entered a sign, 2023, 2024, and distinctly note how the transformation, in this case in the Aquarius part of your chart, started. The first of the Mars-Pluto oppositions occurs when Mars is in Cancer and Pluto is in Capricorn. The second 2 oppositions to Pluto occur when Mars is in Leo and Pluto is in Aquarius, because Pluto is going to move into Aquarius on November the 19th. And the second 2 oppositions to Pluto are on January the 3rd and April the 26th. The theory with some astrologers when it comes to oppositions is that it marks a kind of a culmination, an intensification of a process that started when the conjunction took place. So if the Mars-Pluto conjunction took place on February the 14th of 2024, Mars and Pluto squared, I knew I was going to, that I do have this, some of you note and ask me whether I have a strong Virgo placement in my chart, but it bugs me when I don't have dates and things just at my fingertips because I really want them there. Give me one sec. Why do I care about this? I want to give you the exact date when Mars and Pluto squared each other when Mars entered Taurus. Sorry. Just be patient with me. I'm sorry if I'm being annoying. Thank you for your patience. Mars, Pluto conjunct February 14th. They would have squared, I'll give you the date, trined, and now these three oppositions. It's like a conjunction between two planets is like the equivalent of a new moon, and the opposition is like the equivalent of a full moon. But I don't want to over press or stress that, because a new moon is still a relatively quiet thing. We have a new moon where the moon is dark. It is starting a cycle. There's a gentleness to the new moon, with the assumption that once we move past the new moon, June the 11th of 2024. Thank you. June the 11th of 2024. Let me write these dates down. Was when Mars and Pluto squared. I'm not going to go into the trine. I can feel myself getting a little too bogged down in details here, so I think it's time for me to pull myself out of some of these details. The theory, as far as cycles are concerned, is that God, my laptop and the stupid website that I use to anyway. Focus, hobby, focus. The theory is that a conjunction between two planets starts a cycle that reaches a kind of edginess with a square, smoothing with a trine, a kind of an intensification with the opposition, then a trine, then a square, and back to the conjunction. Some people would liken it to a new moon when the two are conjuncting and a full moon when they oppose each other, except that it's not quite that, because a Mars-Pluto conjunction does not have the feeling of a new moon. A Mars-Pluto conjunction has the feeling of kicking a door open that has been hard to open. What is intriguing, and the first thing I want to share about this Mars, out of all these transits that Mars is making while he is retrograde, it is the opposition to Pluto that is the most dynamic and the most charged. As retrogrades go, this is a very helpful Mars retrograde, given the fact that he is trining both Saturn and Neptune and helping to stabilize the Pisces part of the chart. And especially the fact that he is trining the North Node 3 times. We know that so much of the energy that we have right now is around wanting to move in the Aries towards the Aries part of the chart and avail of certain opportunities that are signified by the North Node in Aries and the North Node eclipse in Aries and that final eclipse on March 29th of next year. That's where we want to go. That's where we want to head. That's where the opportunity sits. But we also know that we need to stabilize the Pisces part of the chart, which has been experiencing some sort of a crisis since 2012. And this Mars retrograde kind of helps tie the two together so that from the signs of Cancer and Leo, he throws his support to Saturn and Neptune, is in conversation with Chiron in Aries, and then the first time trines the North Node in Aries. The second time, give me one sec here. Just give me 1 second. The second time, he also, when he's retrograde, he trines the North Node in Aries, but just barely, just a few days before the North Node is going to slip into Pisces. And the third and final time when he trines the North Node, it's between Mars in Cancer and the North Node in Pisces. Although when that trine happens, we're still under the influence of the North Node in Aries eclipse on March 29th. And so he supports the forward movement towards the North Node, the desire, the calling, wherever it is where we're supposed to develop whatever, and he is trying to stabilize the Pisces part of the chart. But in the middle of it all, he has this opposition to Pluto. And the first thing with this opposition to Pluto that we need to consider and ask is, what is brewing between now and April the 26th? Because after these oppositions, the next square that Mars makes to Pluto is on September the 24th of 2025. And then he finally conjuncts with Pluto again in Aquarius on January 27th, 2026. So we're in the midpoint between now and April 26th, where he does this opposition to Pluto 3 times. The first one between Cancer and Capricorn, and the second 2 from Leo to Aquarius. The first one, because it is occurring just as Pluto is wrapping up his transit through Capricorn, begs the question, what has been going on over the past week and a half, 2 weeks, over the next few days? What is this conversation that Mars is having with Pluto in Capricorn just before? Why throw a wrench into the works just as Pluto's finishing up his transformational transit through Capricorn since 2008? And Pluto is you know, when we ask the question, which is the most powerful planet of them all, I would still put my weight behind Saturn. Because as I've mentioned to you, until Saturn, with Jupiter and Saturn, they require our agency and our participation. By the time we get to Chiron and Uranus and Neptune and Pluto, it's not really about our participation as much as it is about our acceptance of the transformation that those planets are making in their own time. But if I were to be completely objective, I would say that ultimately out of all of them, Pluto is the most powerful planet. Pluto will just have his way. And my experience of Pluto's transformations are that Pluto is trying to transform matters related to the part of the chart that he's transiting for our benefit. He knows what is not for us. He knows where our power sits and where our power lies and how we can become more empowered in a certain part of the chart. And he is seeking to, I have my tripod rests on a set of books, and there's this book by this astrologer named Caroline Casey. She wrote this book called Making the Gods Work for You, and it is about the outer planets. And she talks about, with a Pluto transit, the idea of sort of burning down the barn so you can see the moon kind of thing. For me, Pluto is like this tractor with this kind of de-weeding tool that is slowly going to make his way through the field of the house that he is going through, and all these weeds are just going to get uprooted, whether you like it or not. Now, and you've heard me say this lots of times, the thing that creates the power struggles and the challenges with a Pluto transit is either we're resisting a Plutonian change, we're holding on to something we're really attached to that Pluto's like, this is not right for you. This is not in the cards for you. So we're desperately holding on to a weed or the back of the tractor, and Pluto's kind of relentlessly moving forward, or somebody else in our life, or else's in our life, wants us to be in a particular place. And Pluto's like not having it. And so it creates then this surge of energy within us to move towards a more empowered space so that others cannot exercise that kind of influence with us. So Pluto strengthens us, but depending on where we are at with our self-empowerment, we can feel that power struggle in a really challenging or debilitating way, or we can feel that power struggle and yet manage to find our way out of it. And the Capricorn part of the chart, Pluto has been transforming in this way since 2008. We can't ignore the fact that just as Pluto is getting ready to leave, Mars opposes Pluto. Now, the opposition to Pluto works in one of two ways, and it can be a both and, or it can be either or. Something can come up from within the house occupied by the sign of Cancer that actually opposes or causes an impediment for Pluto to make his transformation complete. Pluto will win. But a circumstance, a person, an offer, an opportunity. Let's say if Pluto is transforming a certain part of your chart for you, let's say Pluto is going over your 4th house and has been doing it since 2008, and Mars is in your 10th house of career, and you are just about to finalize some sort of change and transformation related to location or working from home or something about residence, and a job opportunity comes to you that is going to require you to remain where you are or remain with the old, and you are considering it because you feel like you need to. So something comes up from Mars's side. Now, because it's Mars, it could be if for example you have Pluto in the 6th, if you have Capricorn in the 6th and Pluto's transiting that, and Mars is in the 12th, it could be someone who has some sort of a hidden agenda. It could be someone who's introducing something to you that prevents that transformation in your job or your health or something like that that's been going on since 2008 to slow it down, or there could be a competitive element to it. It could be, if we go with that idea of Mars going through your 10th, because that's where Cancer is, and Pluto going over your 4th, I think that would be for a Libra rising, then it could be that something comes up professionally that keeps you where you are. So one possible interpretation of this November 3rd is that something comes up that opposes temporarily the completion of this Plutonian transit of the Capricorn part of the chart. Now, there could be various reasons why something has to be considered. There could be various reasons why a transformation needs to be slowed down. For some of you, you may consider whatever Mars is bringing because you may feel like, I'm not quite at the place where I can complete this transformation and I need something else. I need to delay it just a little bit more. I'm going to consider taking this particular career opportunity that Mars is bringing to me because it's going to give me cash for about 6 odd months, and that cash is going to help me complete this transition. So some of you might actually consider it. Some of you might say, I was hoping to have this transformation complete by November the 19th, but for various reasons, I have not been able to, and I may need this temporary oppositional opportunity to actually help me complete something. For others of you, you may need to gently examine what it is that's coming up and just consider, do I need to take this? How is it going to affect my timeline? And please, if it's something financial, don't do something rash and say, well, Pluto's going to complete his transformation by November the 19th, so I'm not going to. If you need the cash, if you need the money, if you need to take a temp job, if you need to, consider it, as long as you're clear about what your goals are, and you can complete the transition when you need to. Pluto's moving into Aquarius, but that doesn't mean that transformation he started since 2008 has to be completely completed and never to be gone back to, and never to be I's, dotted, T's crossed until after November the 19th. You know what your individual situation is, what you need. But in some cases, an oppositional opportunity may present itself that slows down Pluto's ability to complete his transformation of the Capricorn part of the chart. In other cases, you may feel that you need to take care of some activity, either the pursuit of certain goals or certain tasks, or the setting of certain boundaries related to Mars's transit through Cancer that are going to help facilitate and accelerate Pluto's transformation through the Capricorn part of the chart. In which case, the only thing I will say is be careful with these planets. With Mars, sometimes with Mars and Pluto, sometimes with Mars and Pluto, sometimes with Mars and Pluto, we have to be a little careful you're going to have to see what makes the most sense. Sometimes with Mars-Pluto oppositions, I feel like, or even squares, I feel like it's best to lie low. I feel like it's best to remain under the radar. Because sometimes you might take an action that you're taking because you feel like it's in self-defense, or you feel like you need to set a boundaries, and it backfires. It's the Mars-Pluto, it's just, the lessons are unpredictable. Mars is a funny planet, as I've said, assertive and not aggressive. With Mars, still focus on keeping the intentions pure and clean with regard to the actions that you're taking. What are you working towards? What are you fighting for? Where are you setting the boundaries? Assertive, not aggressive, not violent. Don't forget, that Mars-Uranus conjunction around July the 15th with that Trump assassination attempt. And I'm putting quotes around it for a reason. This full moon that's coming up on November the 15th is pretty much at that degree. It's at Trump's midheaven conjuncting Algol, that fixed star. And you can interpret, full moon at a midheaven. You could just be like, for people who are not expecting a victory, there's going to be a victory. But the conjunction to Algol, it's very and that full moon in Taurus on November the 15th, the thing that I want you to understand is that full moon trines Pluto in Capricorn. I'm not mentioning that to talk about the election. I'm not mentioning that to talk about Trump's birth chart. I'm talking about our birth charts. Mars-Pluto conjunctions and Mars-Pluto oppositions are very much transformational times. And if we are at a time where we are feeling stuck in a status quo, but clear that the eclipses in September, October, particularly the October 2nd eclipse, has asked us to go ahead and release the stagnation, the stagnant status quo related to the Libra part of the chart, so we can move towards the North Node in the Aries part of the chart in a grounded manner, in a grounded, organized manner, keeping an eye to our financial security and our emotional security. Not getting overly attached to outcomes. Seeing where the universe wants us to go, what the breadcrumbs are. What's the right time? Are we releasing what we need to release? How are we assisting ourselves and not getting in the way of ourselves? Not resisting certain things we know that need to be transformed for our well-being. And insofar as Mars, as part of his retrograde and direct, is trining the North Node 3 times and trining Saturn and Neptune 3 times. And Mars just trined Neptune on October the 28th, a few days ago. And is moving towards trining the North Node on November the 17th, 18 days from now. In a week, we'll really start to feel that start to build for the first time. All these transits, aspects, hang on the Mars-Pluto opposition, which acts as this linchpin. Because the very last aspect that Mars makes after he's direct and clearing his shadow degrees, 6 degrees Leo, as he's heading towards 6 degrees Leo, the very last aspect he's going to make is he's going to oppose Pluto. By the time he's getting ready to oppose Pluto for the third time, when he is in Leo and Pluto's in Aquarius, he will have finished his third aspects to Saturn, Neptune, Chiron, and the North Node. It's the last aspect he's going to make one more time after he's done trining Saturn, Neptune, squaring Chiron, trining the North Node 3 times as part of his retrograde. The first of these oppositions is different because it's from Cancer to Pluto. The second and the third, when Mars is retrograde in Leo, and Pluto's in Aquarius on January the 3rd, 1 day after he trines the North Node. And then finally, when he's direct back in Leo, April 26th. So with the opposition, 2 things. As I said, 1, is it an opposition? Is it a tug of war? Is it Pluto saying, I'm trying to complete something here, Mars? What the hell are you? Why are you playing tug of war with me? Why are you pulling me in your direction, the Cancer? Why are you opposing? Why are you creating a wrinkle? And you have to look at that wrinkle and say, is it a wrinkle or is it an opportunity? Am I having trouble helping Pluto complete his opposition? Do I need any assistance from Mars, who might be offering me something that might look like it's going to delay the Plutonian transformation, but might actually be a helpful intervention because the resources or whatever it is that Mars is trying to provide from the Cancer part of the chart might actually help you complete that transformation, not by November 19th, but maybe even by November 19th. So the opposition can actually be an assistance. In another case, you also have to look at, is Mars offering something that doesn't feel right? Pluto will win. Pluto will create this transformation, or things will become very uncomfortable for us. So is Mars providing an opportunity? And the second way to look at the Mars opposition is kind of linked to this. What action can be taken? What boundaries can be set in the Cancer part of the chart that actually help Pluto? It's like Mars is moving along and all of a sudden he can't move along because Pluto from the opposite part of the chart has said, stop. I need you to do something for me before you can move forward. And Mars has to serve Pluto from the Cancer part of the chart to assist in his ability to complete, Pluto's ability to complete his transformation of the Capricorn part of the chart by November the 19th as Mars moves forward. Energetically, it is an aspect of energy, combustion, assertiveness, attack. This is the biggest caution I would, there are 2 cautions that I would give you. And the thing to avoid with a Mars-Pluto square and a Mars-Pluto opposition, and even with a Mars-Pluto conjunction, is impulsiveness or rashness. Don't get impatient, don't get fearful so that you do something that is problematic, that is rash, that is not thought through, that is impulsive, that feels, that you may feel is assertive, but it actually comes across as aggressive to somebody else. And then they react in a way that you really didn't necessarily want. There is with Mars and Pluto the energy of attack a little bit that you have to watch out for. So one way to deal with a Mars-Pluto opposition is just say, you know what? I'm just going to lie low. I'm going to let this, because the aspect carries enough transformational power that you're going to feel the combustiveness of it and the change element of it and the battering ram kind of feeling of it. Anyway, you don't need to do anything. It's already happening. And the change is already happening. I mean, these eclipses that we just went through have already made it clear that we have one more chance based on what we know. And this is our chance to really move towards that Aries direction. And that it is going to be a process. And one part of this process is, you know, there are three parts to these. There are three other parts of the chart that are involved in this conversation. The Mercury retrograde in Sagittarius from November 26th to December 15th. But really, this Mars retrograde, something needs to be wrapped up in the Cancer part of the chart to allow us to land successfully in the Leo part of the chart. And these aspects are part of it. Something is going to need to be wrapped up in the Pisces part of the chart to allow us to land in the Aries part of the chart in March and April when we have the Venus and Mercury retrograde there. So this arc that we're following till the end of the first week of June, when Jupiter changes signs and the March 29th North Node eclipse in Aries kind of exercises its power until then, and Mars moves out of Leo into Virgo a week after the end of the first week of June, in the middle of June. Those are the energetic, but until then, it's this question of how can I move towards the Aries part of the chart? How can I continue to lean into the changes that the Jupiter-Uranus conjunction Taurus wants me to make, so that I can pursue the path that is right for me, Uranian right for me, my individual path in the Taurus part of the chart. That's the fourth thing that exercises its influence till the end of the first week of June of next year. What changes, endings, and new beginnings is Jupiter making in the Gemini part of the chart? Those are the energies to lean into. And in the meantime, how can I continue to stabilize the Pisces part of the chart? And Mars in this process is doing so, and these oppositions are critical to that process. I call this kind of labor pains that the change, the biggest thing that we are dealing with right now, and it's going to be individual to each of us based on what we're trying to do. We could be excited about potential, and some of us will lean into it and make it happen. And some of us will have more of a challenging time, but be very, very aware that the Libra part of the chart where we need to release something really has a comfort zone aspect to it that is stagnant. But like anything that is a comfort zone, it needs to be shed. And the battering ram nature of the transformation that is upon us with these Mars-Pluto oppositions is a very much something that is at the door of the structure that is our stagnant comfort zone. And the first of these kind of battering rams from Mars towards Pluto is, or harnessing that energy, is on November the 3rd. The second one is on January the 3rd. And the third one is on April the 26th. So, sorry, the lighting is terrible, but we need a little bit of light because we're losing at 6 o'clock and it's sunset. The sun may already have set. It's setting in a couple of minutes. So the Mars-Pluto opposition may signify competition, enmity, someone trying to do something behind the scenes, someone trying to create a wrench towards transformation that they see as beneficial for you. The transformation will be signified by Pluto's transformation of the Capricorn part of the chart. If we're going to look at Mars in a kind of an enmity way, it could be you with Mars-Pluto oppositions getting in your own way. With Mars-Pluto squares and oppositions, they're the classic aspect of a self-destructive move. What is so intriguing after this opposition is that by the time we get to, am I right about this? Give me 1 sec. I want to look at something. by the time we get to that full moon in Taurus trines Pluto. It supports Pluto, conjunct Uranus. Something about these next 2 weeks is really important, really critical. Remember, Mercury, the first 3 weeks of November are forward movement. A lot is going to rest on these next 3 weeks. Remember that in November, a lot of the energy is still skewed towards the Scorpio part of the chart, even though, especially as we head towards the end of November, more planets will move into Sagittarius. This goes back to these 2 videos I did prior to this one about the transits through Scorpio and transits through Sagittarius. By the time we get to the November 30th new moon in Sagittarius, one of the aspects that new moon encodes is Venus in Capricorn trining Uranus. But Uranus in Taurus is going to start to play a really important role after this new moon as we head towards the full moon, and as we head full moon in Taurus, which is conjunct Uranus on November the 15th, and as we head towards the new moon in Sagittarius on November the 30th, when Venus will be trining Uranus. And for Venus to be trining Uranus, Venus is going to be getting pretty close to Pluto by that time. So this Mars opposition to Pluto kicks something off. So what are the things to ponder? Be careful of taking rash actions, impulsive actions, paranoid actions, fear-based actions. If you have to set boundaries at this time, and some of you might, do it as carefully and mindfully and politely as possible. And just, if sometimes we are aware that someone is not acting in our best interests around this time, you're going to have to gauge for yourself whether it's better to let this transit pass and then address it after November the 3rd, because there's something about, and go back to that February 14th date and just see what is going to be working its way out at this point in time between now and April the 26th that can go back and be linked to that. Because remember, the second and third oppositions very much have Mars in Leo and Pluto in Capricorn, Pluto in Aquarius. This is the first and only of these aspects that is introducing this question of Pluto is trying to finish up his transit through Capricorn by November the 19th. And the full moon in Taurus is absolutely trying to assist with that. So be careful if something is coming in from Mars in Cancer. Just make sure that if you're going to avail of something that feels like it might be slowing down the Plutonian transformation, weigh and observe, is it actually slowing it down? Or in the slowdown, is it actually helping it? Because if you need certain missing pieces to complete this transformation, then it could be that whatever is coming up that feels like an opposition is actually working in concord. You know, if we build on that Libra rising example, a job opportunity, a career opportunity comes up that on the surface looks like it's going to slow down Pluto's transformation through the 4th house, but it may provide something on the resume, income, something in the short term that actually helps Pluto make that completion. Be mindful and aware of the assertive energy, but the biggest thing I can tell you with this Mars-Pluto opposition is that, and it's been progressing, this is a crescendo. It's like a drumbeat that is been increasing in volume slowly in September, more insistently with that October 2nd eclipse. And now with the new moon in Scorpio tomorrow, it's going to be That's it. Start making changes. Remember, with the new moon in Scorpio, the new moon in Scorpio trines Saturn in Pisces. Mars is transits 3 trines to Saturn in Pisces from Cancer, 3 trines to Neptune in Pisces from Cancer. Venus has just completed his trine to the north, her trine to the north node. Mars, when he enters Leo in the middle of November, will be trining the north node, followed by then Mercury in Sagittarius trining the north node, the Sun trining the north node. We have these trines of opportunity and these trines to stabilize the Pisces part of the chart, all very active. The Scorpio video and the Sag video will shed more light on that. And this Mars-Pluto opposition, this battering ram is exactly what this aspect is. With the November 3rd one, there could be something that comes up that you have to weigh. Is it blocking or interrupting in a way that is not convenient, that is an energy leak, that is a competitive move by someone else or something along those lines? Pluto's transformation of the Capricorn part of the chart, but remain open to anything that looks like it's a delay, but might actually be providing a resource that helps you complete the Plutonian transformation by November the 19th. They're very individual things. You have to, if you don't know your chart and you're feeling like the eclipses narrowed down the walls so that there's only one direction that you can go in, and certain things have stopped and earlier they were there, and changes in the air, that is the energy. Just be very careful as you take action for the rest of this week through November the 3rd. Just, it's not a great time to be attacking anybody. And if you're going to set boundaries, you need to do it very carefully. You cannot do it impulsively. Not right now. But you will be called upon to set boundaries. You will be called upon to take action. You will. But in some ways, it's better and stabler to do it when you are more collected and the energies are less. But for some of you, if you feel like it's time for me to be assertive and make certain things clear and say certain things, fine. Feel free to do so. Just watch out for doing it in such a way that it creates. Don't try and be too clever. Not under this aspect. Keep your intentions very clean, very clear, very careful, because something could just ricochet back at you. Something could have an unintended effect, because you might act on something out of fear, and the other person may pick up on it and then react out of fear. And it's the kind of thing that just then creates this combustion. It creates this, oh God, if I hadn't done that, then this wouldn't happen. This is now so stupid. Or this has now just exploded into something or become something much bigger than it should have in the first place. And, it's October the 31st. November the 3rd is 3 days away. So let's all just kind of hold on to whatever we need to hold on to for the next few days. But if something is coming up and you feel like boundaries have to be drawn, blah, blah, then, it is. But more than that, I think more than that, the bigger thing I'm intrigued by is something coming up that feels like it might be counter to Pluto's transformation in Capricorn that can be tapped into or used to actually assist that transformation by November 19th? That is a very intriguing question. Or someone introducing something from a delay perspective that feels like, this feels like a slightly competitive move. You're going to have to gauge what that is. And it will become, as you head towards the weekend and as you head into November, it will become things. I do think things will sort themselves out. Pluto's too powerful a planet. You can't mess with him for long. I would use this battering ram. The biggest thing that you need to look at and examine because they are very dynamic. There are very opportunity laced aspects that are occurring with the trines to the North Node and the trines to Saturn and Neptune. And the new moon in Scorpio trines Saturn. And all of November from the Scorpio part of the chart, you're going to be encouraged to ask the question, is everything, can I do anything to matters related to the Scorpio part of the chart so that they can help support Saturn in Pisces? And in the meantime, in November, we're preparing for other trines to the North Node in Aries. Where do you want to go? What needs to be done to get the Scorpio part of the chart in alignment with where you're trying to go? And if you want to know what I'm talking about here, take a look at that Scorpio video that I did. But the biggest thing with this Mars-Pluto opposition is to understand that the universe is saying, you have wanted to move in a certain direction, March, April, May, June, July, August of 23. Spirit made it clear between September, October of 23 and March of 24, what you needed to release and what was standing in the way. Spirit may have, between January 20th and February 20th, kicked the door open for you. And after September the 1st of this year, but especially October 2nd of this year, the universe is like, okay, try and release what you need to release in the Libra part of the chart by especially the week before and after December the 2nd. And for anyone who knows this needs to happen, but is a little bit paralyzed because there's resistance to change or resistance to what needs to be done, or it feels very overwhelming, this Mars-Pluto opposition is going to act as an accelerator, as a battering ram towards on the door of whatever it is that is keeping us both secure, but it's whatever it is that's giving us a false sense of security with a stagnant status quo. And this Mars-Pluto opposition is going to attempt to shake that up. And his trines to the North Node and his trines to Neptune and Saturn will try and support our way through this to whatever it is that we're trying to create next. By the time we get to the second and the third Mars oppositions to Pluto, they're going to be much more directly related to the Mars-Pluto conjunction in Aquarius, because Mars at that time will be in Leo and Pluto will be in Aquarius. This one on November the 3rd has some sort of conversation related to Pluto completing his transit of the Capricorn part of the chart since 2008. And I did an 8-minute video on that as my most popular video. I'll put a link to that at the end of this one. Pluto completing his transit from 2008 in the Capricorn part of the chart. I had to do this video. You know, I told you when I was doing the Scorpio transits and Sagittarius transit, I was like, no, this is the right logic. This is the right way to do it. And I've already covered a lot of the content of the new moon in Scorpio in that Scorpio video and the weekly overview I did just before this one. I needed to give this video and put it out there because it's a video that we can refer to then in the future. And then tomorrow I'll do the new moon in Scorpio video. Reminder, first 15 people to email me wanting to avail of the Diwali special, my regular readings for $100 as opposed to anywhere between $120 and $175 for 60 to 75 minutes. And we can talk about what you want to achieve in that. Yep, we'll get that reading for $100, so feel free to email me there. Subscribe to my YouTube channel if you haven't already. Click on the wiggly bell next to the subscribe button and click on the bell icon and the wiggly bell on top once you hover over it. If you click on that, you'll be notified when I do new videos. There's a thanks button underneath this video. You can use that to contribute to the channel. Feel free to comment or like the video. It gives it greater circulation on YouTube. Feel free to, if you find this content useful, tell friends, etc. about it. And we leave it at this. Let me get this information out there so that then tomorrow I can focus on the new moon in Scorpio. And then after that, I need to start to focus my energy on next week's weekly overview and the monthly overview for November. All right, I will leave it at that. Thank you very much for your time and attention, and I will talk to you guys soon. Take care.